All right, so today we're going to learn 11.3 area of circles and sectors of circles. So the area of a circle is essentially the product of pi and the radius squared. So remember we talked about the circumference of a circle. That's essentially the distance around the figure, right? I'm finding the perimeter of the circle. And to do that, we just use the formula C equals 2 pi r, right? But this time around, we are trying to figure out how much space a circle can take. And that's essentially using the formula A equals pi r squared, where r represents the radius. So we're going to look at example number 1. It says an archery target has a radius of 12 inches. What is the area of the target in terms of pi? And it says we're going to be rounding. I'm not going to be rounding. I'm just going to leave things in terms of pi because that's what you're expected to do on a quiz or test. So first things first, we're going to write the formula A equals pi r squared. What's the radius given the information that we have? What's the radius? What's the radius? 12, right? So if r is 12, I have A equals pi 12 squared. Now, what's 12 squared? Right, so that's going to be A equals 144, and then you slap on the pi. But don't forget the units. It's A equals 144 pi what? A equals 144 pi square inches, so inches squared, okay? B, what is the area of a circular putting green with a diameter of 20 feet in terms of pi? So using the formula A equals pi r squared, A equals pi, what's the radius? The diameter is 20, the radius must be what? 10, right? So it's going to be pi times 10 quantity squared. So A equals, what's 10 squared? 100 what? 100 pi feet squared. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to look at is C. What is the radius of a circle whose area is 81 pi square inches? So if I'm trying to find the radius, that's essentially doing what? What are we doing? We're going forward or are we going backwards? We're going backwards. So if we're dealing with area of a circle, the formula must be what? What's the area of a circle formula? A equals pi r squared, right? And the area is, what's the area? 81 what? 81 pi equals pi r squared. Now, remember, the goal here is to figure out what the radius is, so I have to do what? Divide by? Yeah, so I need to divide both sides by pi. So the 2 pi's cancel here and there. So I'm left with what? 81 equals r squared. Now look, r squared on the right-hand side. And it's alone. I have to do what on both sides to get r by itself? Take the square root, right? So I'm going to take the square root on both sides. So r is equal to 9. 9 what? Not square inches. Because we're dealing with the radius, it's one-dimensional. It must be what? Just inches. So r equals 9. All right? D, what is the diameter of a circle whose area is 95 square centimeters? So I got to use that formula again. A equals pi r squared. Is the area given to me, yes or no? What's the area? Just 95. Not 95 pi, just 95. Equals pi r squared. Now, in order for me to find the diameter, right, we only have r. But before I solve for r, what do I have to do on both sides? What's that? Divide by what? Divide by pi. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and cancel the 2 pi's. I have what? 95 over pi equals r squared. R squared is by itself. I can do what on both sides? Take the square root. Okay, see, what we're going to have on the right-hand side of the equal sign is r. Then I have the square root of 95 divided by pi. So what I want you to do with your calculators is just input square root of 95 divided by pi. Do not input 3.14. Find the pi button on your calculator. So the square root of 95 divided by pi. So here's my calculator. I have second x squared, and that's 95 divided by, and the pi button is right here. It's above the caret sign, so I'm going to press second, this button, and there you go. You should see the little pi button on your screen. And then I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and I have that, 5.49903, whatever that says. Okay? But what are we actually trying to figure out? That's my radius, but really, what am I trying to figure out? What's that? The diameter. So I need to do what with this number that I have on my calculator? Multiply by 2. See, I'm not going to round anything right now. I'm just going to take this number and times that by 2. Okay? And I'm going to round at the end. So it's 10.998, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to round this to the nearest whole. That 10 is actually going to become approximately what? 11. So we're just going to say that R, what was R? It was that number, 5.499, right? So 5.499 equals, and then the diameter is approximately 11. Wait. What's the unit? 11 what? If we're dealing with diameter, it should be 11 centimeters. Okay, so that is my answer. Okay, any questions about the first page? Any questions about the first page? Okay. All right, moving on to the back page, we have the area of a sector of a circle. So the area of a sector A is equal to the arc measured divided by 360 times pi r squared. So this equation right here, A equals x over 360 times pi r squared, that should remind you of something that we dealt with before. We dealt with arc length, right? We use that formula to figure out the length of a crust of a pizza, right? Because we were trying to figure out the distance. But this time, with this equation, sector area A equals, again, x over 360 times pi r squared. If we're talking about pizza, I'm trying to figure out the area of one slice of pizza. Like how much space this one slice of pizza can take. Okay? So, this is what I'm trying to figure out, that shaded figure. The area of that shaded figure. Not the whole circle, just parts of that circle. So remember that x represents, the central angle. It's out of 360, and we're going to be multiplying by the area of circle formula. So we're going to look at example A, 2A. So let me go ahead and write the formula right on the side here. A equals x over 360 times pi r squared. So I have A equals, all right, so x, that's the central angle. It's 53 degrees out of 360 times pi. What's the radius of the circle? What's the radius of the circle? 4, right? So 4 squared. So A equals 53 over 360 times 4 squared. That's 16. Then slap on the pi. Now I want to just write this as a simplified fraction. So remember, on your calculator, you have to write or type in 53 divided by 360. So go ahead and do that on your calculator. 53 divided by 360. Okay, hit enter, and then you're going to multiply by 16. Do not include the pi on your calculator. So then what do you have to do? How do we make this a simplified fraction? Do you remember? How do we make this a simplified fraction? We do what? Math, enter. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So I do 53 divided by 360, yes? Okay, hit enter. Multiply by what number? 16. And then hit enter. And then what? And then what? Math. Enter. Enter. So you have 106 over 45, yes? Okay, so A equals 106 over 45. And then don't forget we had that pi included. So I'm going to go ahead and put pi right next to it. But since we're dealing with area and I'm asking you to include units, it's actually what? Square feet. Feet square or square feet. And that's your answer for the first problem. All right? Any questions about this first example? Okay. Let's try B. So it's A equals what over 360? 148 over 360 times pi, what? 6 squared. So A equals 148 over 360 times, what's 6 squared? 36 pi. So everyone go ahead and use your calculator, right? Or type in 148 divided by 360. Then multiply by 36. Do not include pi. We're going to include pi at the end of our answer, okay? So then what did you get? 72. What did you get? I got 74. So 74 over 5. And you can go ahead and write the pi above the fraction or right next to the fraction. So I can accept two different answers where where the pi is located doesn't matter to me. Except you cannot have the pi in the denominator. That'll change things. So you can put the pi symbol on top of the fraction or literally right next to the fraction itself. Okay, so A equals 74 pi over 5 what? Square meters, right? So square meters. All right, C. So I have A equals what? What over what? Well, if we look very, very closely, yes, this angle here is 65 degrees, but is that shaded? No. So what are we actually trying to figure out? This thing, right? So what is this thing? What's this angle?
295.
How do you know it's 295?
Subtract 360 minus 65.
Yeah, so 360 minus 65 equals 295, right? So A equals what over what? Good. 295 over 360 times pi 11 squared. So A equals 295 over 360 times, what's 11 squared? 121 pi. So go ahead and put that in your calculator. 295 divided by 360. Hit enter. Multiply by 121. Hit enter, and then math, enter, enter. What did you get? So it should be a very, very weird fraction.
7,139.
Exactly. So A equals 7,139 over 72 pi what? Inches squared. All right? So that's C. All right, any questions about sector area? Questions about sector area? Okay, we're going to do example 3. We're not going to do example 4. You can look at the key for example 4. All right, so example 3 says a circle of pizza has a diameter of 12 inches and is cut into 8 congruent slices. What is the area of one slice in terms of pi? And we're going to leave it in terms of pi. We're not going to be doing it in rounding, okay? So it seems like we're going to be dealing with sector area. So the formula is A equals x over 360 times pi r squared. So A equals, what's the central angle of this one pizza?
45.
How do you know it's 45?
I divided 360 by 8.
Yeah, so 360 divided by 8 because we're dealing with 8 congruent slices, right? Which is crazy. That's amazing that this pizza place can do that. Like Domino's, am I right? So we do 360 divided by 8. So if I'm looking at this one pizza, the central angle of that is 45 degrees. All right, so then A equals 45 over 360 times pi. What's the radius of this pizza? I know that the diameter of the pizza is 12 inches, so that means the radius is what?
6.
Is 6, right? So the radius, R is 6. So pi 6 squared. So A equals 45 over 360 times 6 squared, that's 36 pi. All right, so go ahead and tell me what you get. 45 divided by 360, hit enter, and then multiply by 36, hit enter, do not include the pi. Tell me what you get. Should be a fraction.
Where's 9 over 2
Yeah, so 9 over 2,
inches, square inches.
wait, 9 over 2 what?
Pi.
Pi square inches. Okay, so A equals 9 over 2 pi square inches. Again, we are going to leave it as a simplified fraction. And again, we are going to leave example 4 as an exercise for you to do. You can look at the key to check your answer.